being a woman, then and now, there's still a Lucite ceiling that, look, in the United States, we still have not elected a woman president. Growing up, I had very few models. I wanted to be an actress. And I didn't see a whole lot of women like me on stage or in film that I wanted to be. And in those days, Asian women were prostitutes, they were portrayed as geishas, and they were very stereotypical. We didn't have Asian playwrights and female playwrights as much as we do now. And so I felt that I wanted to kind of find my way and make my own path, that if I could blaze a way forward somehow as a woman or as a woman of color, that I hope that maybe that would at least part the path a little bit to allow others to follow. What I found coming into the workplace, this is in the 1990s, it was all men who ran the theaters. Very few women ran theaters. I was a manager, and in many of the theaters that I worked at, my voice was marginalized. There was an old boys network. We didn't have Me Too in those days. I had to find grit and determination, and every time I was humiliated, there was one job where I was demoted because I was a woman in favor of someone who was a man. I had no place to go. HR wasn't there for me. And I remember this feeling of, I'll show you. One day I'll show you. And that is one of my inspirations, is finding the moral fortitude to someday show people that I'm gonna beat this. Maybe it's part of my DNA, because I have a very strong through line of strong women in my family. And every time I get a setback, I get angry, and I get determined, and I find a way around it. And that has been my grit as I've moved through this. I did not have the chance to go to grad school. I don't have an MBA. I learned through hard knocks, and I learned through just trial and error, mostly error. But I learned that what makes me stronger is adversity, because I just am determined to get over it. Now, eventually, I found some very wonderful mentors, women mentors, who helped move me into opportunities. And I learned from their inspiration, because they were in director positions and I was a manager position. And I thought, well, I can be a director someday. I can be a director of a department one day, because I saw a woman in that position. I did not yet see a managing director or an executive director, but I saw a department head as a woman. And I thought, if I can be that kind of inspirational leader and that kind of persona, then that might give lift to others behind me. But it was really hard because it was very lonely. And again, I was a Chinese woman. There weren't a lot of people of color in these theaters when I was getting started. And the social circle around me was not very diverse in those days. In 2008, when I was the managing director of Center Stage in Baltimore, one of my colleagues told me that, Debbie, do you know that you are the only woman of color running a LORT theater, League of Regional Theater, a LORT theater in the United States? This was 2008, and I thought, you've got to be kidding me. But then I realized Obama had just been elected the first African-American president. And I thought, well, we haven't come too far, have we? And if I'm the first, this just can't be, it can't be like this. It's got to be, we got to move faster in terms of progress. And I made it my mission to help nurture young women and coach young women to believe that they could move into a CEO position like me. And I've hired women, and I've given more chances to women. I felt it was evening the playing field. And it is different now, because there are women running theaters and symphonies and operas, which is great. But I always worry about slipping back. And I think this is where my advocacy work has kicked in, to advocate constantly for equal opportunity and bringing people up. And that has been one of my legacies, I would hope, is that when I look in the rearview mirror, that I see women taking positions that would not have been available to them 20 years ago.